Unreal's newest update, Unreal Engine 5.6, just released, and it is a huge deal. The main reason is the new Metahuman Creator. Around the time UE5 released, it introduced Metahumans, which is a framework that gives creators the ability to create and animate realistic humans. It is a collection of tools and standards that makes the human creation process significantly easier. Most new Unreal games, like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and the Oblivion remaster, are using metahumans. The easiest way to create a metahuman was through the online Metahuman Creator. The problem is that we were severely limited in customization options. There was only 6 body types to choose from, and a small amount of clothing options. While we could export the metahuman to Blender or Maya for further customization, you had to be an advanced 3D artist to do so. Also, the creator was hosted on a website, which meant it was slow if you had a bad internet connection, and you had to wait for the metahuman to download. Now in 5.6, we have a brand new Metahuman Creator that is directly in Unreal, with significantly more customization. You can now create a metahuman like any other asset in Unreal. The biggest new feature is body customization. Now we have a bunch of options to change the body of our metahuman, giving us complete control over all parts of the character. Now you also have the option to turn objects that you made in Blender or Maya into metahumans with the Conform tool. So you can make exactly what you want, as long as your mesh is using the metahuman geometry. All you have to do is select your custom metahuman mesh and conform it. You do this for the body and the face. Now here we have an insanely muscular metahuman. This allows for stylized and unique characters. And just like the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, you can create some pretty interesting looking characters. Truly now, the possibilities are endless. Another part of the metahuman framework that was improved is clothing. Previously, the standard way for metahumans to get clothes was by adding them as an extra mesh. These clothes were just geometry, using the same bones as the metahuman. So, when the metahuman bone rotates, so too will the clothing on top of the human. But clothes do not move uniformly like that. You would expect it to move around the metahuman's geometry with creases, folds, and draping, just like how cloth works in real life. Now there's a new outfit asset that leverages Chaos Cloth. Chaos Cloth was introduced in previous versions of Unreal, with the goal to replace using skeletal meshes as clothes with true cloth simulation. In this example, there is a cape on the back of this character. As she walks around, the cape is interacting with the body and environment realistically, adding a new level of immersion. If you have an outfit, applying it to your metahuman in the new creator is as easy as selecting it. The cloth will automatically resize itself when we change the metahuman's body. The next new feature is live facial animation with cameras. Unreal already comes with a great facial animation tool called Metahuman Animator. It allows you to turn videos into high-quality facial animation using machine learning. But there are 2 downsides. You need to have either an iPhone or an expensive motion capture camera, and it is not real time. We have to process the video data before we can see the animation. An alternative is to use AR FaceKit. It is using the same technology behind Memojis to animate the face in real time, so any facial movement you make in real life happens automatically in engine. But it also requires an iPhone, and the quality isn't that good. Now in 5.6, Metahuman Animator was updated to support real-time facial animation that allows you to create live face animations with just a normal camera. So you can use an Android or even a cheap webcam. You no longer need an iPhone to get this amazing feature. I'm capturing this face animation with just my webcam. Everything is live directly in the editor, and the quality is amazing. This is made possible by AI that was trained on 5 petabytes of facial movement data. And you can still process the regular videos for better quality and tongue movement. In addition to live animation, we now have real-time audio-driven animation. The last version of Unreal introduced a new tool that also uses AI to create realistic animations just from audio, with no camera involved, but this had to be processed. Now this audio animation can also be done in real time. What you're looking at right now is face animations from me speaking into the microphone live. This can be a lifesaver for video games that have thousands of hours of dialogue like an RPG. A new feature was introduced in 5.5, but has a more stable release in 5.6, and that is Nanite Characters. To briefly sum up Nanite, every object you see in computer graphics is made up of tiny flat planes of geometry called polygons. The more polygons on screen, the longer it will take to render. This is why video games use LODs, which is short for level of detail. The further away an object is from the camera, the less polygons it will use to render that object. This makes games run faster, but we are limited in the amount of geometric detail we can have. Nanite fixes this because it uses dynamic level of detail, which means you can have an object with millions of polygons without any LODs, because the geometry is dynamically changing. A good example of Nanite in use is this jungle. This is Nanite in action. Every color is an individual polygon and there are millions of them. When Nanite released, the biggest issue is that it only worked on non-moving static objects, like your rocks and buildings. This changed when the UE 5.1 update introduced Nanite foliage, which gave us the ability to create forests with an unlimited amount of detail. Here is a world with over 100,000 trees, without any LODs. Each leaf you see is made up of real polygons. And then in UE 5.3, we got support for Nanite displacement and landscapes. This gave us the ability to sculpt Nanite geometry directly onto our objects and landscapes. We can now create high-quality geometric detail from height textures and blend them together, giving us more creative possibilities. The ground of this forest is driven by Nanite. Besides the foliage, all of the rocks, dirt, and twigs are one continuous object being handled by height textures. All of this allows for the entire geometry of an environment to leverage Nanite, allowing for worlds like this, which have millions upon millions of source polygons without any level of detail popping. But one of the core features of any game or animations was still missing Nanite, and that was characters. In Unreal, characters are called skeletal meshes. A skeletal mesh is just like your normal static mesh, which is the geometry. But it now has a skeleton, which are the bones of your character. Each of these bones function like how they do in real life. When a bone rotates, a part of the object associated with that bone will rotate with it. This is what every character in a game is made up of. And just like with normal static meshes, skeletal meshes have a lot of the same drawbacks. We are limited to how much geometric detail is on a character. Skeletal meshes with millions of polygons do not perform well. This is why we fake detail with normal map textures. Essentially, normal maps create the illusion of small detail by adding in fake shadows. Here we have a simple character that is looking pretty flat, and as soon as we add in a normal map, then we will get a bunch of fake shadows, making it look like there's more geometry than there actually is. But creating characters where the majority of detail is being handled by normals can make the 3D modeling and texturing process harder. Not to mention, for performance, you still need LODs. So each character needs to be remade multiple times with less polygons. 5.5 gave us Nanite skeletal meshes, and 5.6 makes it more stable and usable. In this world, I have multiple dragons, each with over 700,000 polygons, and my game is chugging along. With just one click, I can enable Nanite on the character, and we get back to a smooth frame rate. Zooming in, we can see how each scale is real geometry. They are not being faked by normal maps. From the teeth to the spikes on its back, it is all one character with hundreds of thousands of polygons. Now for the first time, everything in your world, whether that be the foliage, the landscape, or characters, can all leverage Nanite technology. Do you need a character with millions of polygons for a video game? No. The odds of a player zooming in on a creature to notice this detail is pretty low. Not to mention, there's still a performance cost to having this many polygons on a character, and the size of your game will increase because it has to store all of these polygons. But if you have a character with a normal amount of polygons, it will help performance by enabling Nanite, if the rest of your world is already Nanite. There is no sponsor for this video, but if you like it, make sure to subscribe for more Unreal videos in the future. With every update, we get major graphical and performance improvements. We now have physically accurate reflections on glass and water with the new translucent ray tracing. Ray traced glass and water materials would often glitch out, and glass cannot render when seen through another glass material. In 5.6, with the new ray tracing translucency, all of those issues are fixed, and we get access to realistic refractions without path tracing. A common problem in first-person games is that the first-person model is rendered with the world, so if we come up to a wall, the gun will clip through it, breaking immersion. This is now fixed with first-person rendering. It allows us to render the first-person model separately from the world, eliminating clipping. Epic Games has begun the process of allowing the rendering thread to use multiple CPU cores. In the past, this rendering has only been done on one CPU thread, which can lead to stuttering. Utilizing multiple threads paired with pre-caching shaders before gameplay, we can expect stuttering to be greatly reduced. Rendering across the board continues to be optimized. In complex environments that use hardware ray tracing, there's an extra 10 to 20 frames per second when comparing UE 5.5 to 5.6. We get even more improvements to Unreal's animation tool called Sequencer. Animation got a lot easier with motion trails, which are lines in the viewport that shows the timing and movement of your animations. This makes adjusting and visualizing your animations a lot faster. We can now sculpt morph shapes. Morph shapes allow you to store and animate different shapes of a mesh. A big use for them is to store poses for face animations. But if you want to make a change, that had to be done in Blender or Maya, until now. In 5.6, I can sculpt a morph shape representing a dent in this van. Now in Sequencer, I can animate the car transitioning to the dent. So when a character hits the van, it now leaves a mark. A unique feature is the rig locomotor. What this allows you to do is procedurally create walking without any animation. Unreal is creating this entire animation on the fly. This can be great for complicated creatures like a spider or background characters. The most obvious difference for current Unreal users is a brand new viewport interface. Since UE4, the viewport options were shaped like bubbles. Now we get a more common, flat look. The buttons are still the same, just they were moved around. Unreal is democratizing 3D creation. It allowed Sandfall Interactive, a small studio with a core team of just 30 people, to create a critically acclaimed game like Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It initially started as a small project in Unreal Engine 4 using templates. They then transitioned to UE5 so they could leverage all of its new features, like Lumen, Nanite, Metahumans, and more. It has never been easier to create stunning, high-quality games than before. Luckily for you, I have 2 free courses right here on YouTube that will teach you the basics of Unreal. In the first beginner course, you will learn how to create this castle environment you see right now. And in the second tutorial, you will program your first video game. You can check out both of them, links in the description below.